Final question is an AFSCME question. It comes from Roger Maylard of Carson City, and he said, would you support or oppose any further rounds of the World Trade Organization agreements that do not make substantial progress on incorporating internationally recognized workers' rights or fully protect U.S. trade remedy laws?
What I believe we need in this country is fair trade, not just unabashed free trade. What I would do is, first of all, any future international trade agreement should have the following components as part of the law, not as a side agreement. One, worker protections, because this is critically important, comparing work standards in America and in other countries. Number two, we should have environmental protections. NAFTA, I believe, one of the unfortunate sides of NAFTA, which I'm going to tell you I supported, was that it was supposed to improve air quality. It was supposed to improve the environment, especially at the border. I'm right at the border. It hasn't happened. So there has to be very, very strong labor protections and environmental protections. Last, wage disparities. I think it's critically important that any future trade agreement look at what other countries have in terms of wages and find ways to promote equity in those wage disparities. But we are in a global world. What I would do differently than what this administration is doing to protect jobs from going overseas is I would reward American companies that kept their jobs and people in America. I would eliminate loopholes, and there is one, the runaway tax credit that allows plants to be put forth overseas. I'd get rid of that. But I'd be positive. I would try to find ways to develop economic policies in this country that involve a partnership between business and the government that would be, I want the Democratic Party to be the party of high tech, of science. I want the Democratic Party to be the party of innovation, where we're going to, through tax incentives, as we've done in New Mexico, brought renewable energy companies to our state. We brought movies to the state. I have to star in all of them. But my point being that tax incentives, tax rebates, in other words, I would approach things differently. The Bush tax cuts have not been productive. I would use tax cuts to reward work and reward companies that keep jobs in this great country of ours.
Time for your closing statement.
America in the last 6 years needs to do a lot to recover, especially internationally. I believe the next president is going to have experience internationally. I've been ambassador to the United Nations. I've been Secretary of Energy. President Clinton used to send me around the world to talk to dictators, either to get American servicemen out or to get American prisoners out. He used to say, bad guys like Richardson, so I'm sending him there. I was just in Darfur. Where we got a very fragile ceasefire. Now, Darfur is not on the radar screen of a lot of Americans, but if you look at what's happened there, there's 300,000 human beings have been killed. Close to 3 million have lost their homes, refugees. And I was at a refugee camp, and a mother who had lost a child and her husband killed by rebels said to me, what has it taken so long for America to help us and the international community to help this tragedy? Foreign policy should not be just about power. It should be about doing something about eliminating poverty and dealing with AIDS and dealing with refugees and sicknesses. That's how we regain our moral authority. All right, the last point. George is getting mad. My last point is that I think it's critically important, too, that if we're going to resolve the situation in Iraq, in the Middle East and the Persian Gulf. You can't do it by just dealing with Iraq alone. You've got to find ways to withdraw, but with diplomacy. And that means talking to those that don't agree with us, to Iran, to Syria. I mean, for once the president listened and he talked to North Korea directly, and we got a little bit of an agreement. So my main point is I would do what Yitzhak Rabin used to say, the great Israeli leader. He said, you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Good to see you. Take care.